Joseph had a question for you, Armin, about the MEK and how worried we should be about them getting power in Iran and continuing with the same old regime of terrorism. I wanted to have you address it because obviously you know more than me, but at the time I said that they have no support among Iranians and have zero chance of being installed to lead the country uh, by the Iranians who will be the ones doing the revolution. But their power with bribed politicians and with crooked anti-Shah media will make them a nuisance as they cry out about how they're the legitimate government and they got deposed by the US and Israel or something. So do you have thoughts on that? Am I right?
Yeah, so for people who might not know, the MEK is a terroristic Marxist Islamic cult that the Iranian people hate, and they hate the MEK even more than they hate the Islamic Republic. They but the MEK, because they have a lot of money, they have a lot of money from Saddam and then Saudi Arabia. They have been able to do a rebranding in the United States and get themselves off of the list of terrorist groups by the Clintons with the amount of lobbying that they have done. And they then use all of that money to lobby Republicans, which is weird that some Republicans support them, given that they're both Islamists and Marxists. So they managed to get Rudy Giuliani, Mike Pence, Pompeo, Bolton, who else? Some other people. Rudy Giuliani, I already said. Yep. Some and basically they support them, the MEK, and they also take advantage of the fact that many Americans don't know who the MEK is, and that they're a Marxist Islamist cult to rebrand themselves and for a democracy and a free Iran. And because so many Americans are sympathetic to Iranian people's fight for democracy, they use that as a way to get support, right? However, the MEK doesn't have a base of support in Iran. They're very much hated, and they know that. So they're not even doing this to go back to Iran and rule because they know they can't. This was just an industry for them, like a donation or lobbying industry for them as a way to make money. But honestly, now that the Iranian people are getting free and the Islamic Republic is collapsing, there is not that much of a. We don't need to worry about them any as much anymore. In fact, I would like to put out an invitation to Maryam Rajavi, the leader of the MEK, to come to Iran. Come to Iran and like you're the leader of the transition period. Okay, okay, sure. Let's come to Iran and claim your leadership. Let's see how that works out for you. Like we should actually call their bluff, right? We're like accept their claim to leadership of the opposition and see if she will come to Iran and see what happens to her when she comes to Iran. Because I don't consider them a threat. Like the Iranian people have demonstrated that Prince Reza Pahlavi is their leader, and there's absolutely not a single person that could challenge him on that. Like that's even close to the same popularity and recognition that he has. Let alone the MEK, because MEK is not like it's not like they're like second or third or 10th in popularity and Princess Pahlavi is number one. MEK is like number one hated. Like they broke a record from the other side. Like if Princess Pahlavi is the most popular, Maryam Rajavi and the MEK are the most hated. So it's not like they have just lower popularity than Princess Pahlavi. They're just number one from the other side. So they have no like what are they gonna do? Like honestly, like what are they gonna do? Like just come to Iran and see what happens. Like I would love for her to come to Iran because I think she's going to be immediately arrested and put on trial for murdering so many Iranians, starting with her betrayal of Iranians by joining Saddam and killing and giving the order to kill Iranians. Like she's on camera saying, attack, attack, attack. Look, in the Iran Iraq war. Like she's on camera saying that. So there's so many crimes that they're responsible for. And I hope they actually, maybe they're actually delusional enough to come to Iran, which actually I welcome. I welcome her. Like let's maybe actually play into that. Just be like, yeah, sure, you are the leader. Come to Iran. We will have a red carpet for you. See happens. Like maybe I bet you that. I bet you even if we just tell her, dare her to come to Iran, she's not gonna come to Iran. She knows what's gonna happen if she comes to Iran. Especially given that we didn't get a chance to show our anger to Khamenei, given that he's dead right now. maybe we could do that with Maryam, right? So maybe she could be the one that we put on trial because we can't put Khamenei on trial anymore. So yeah, come to Iran. Let's see what happens.
Aren't you afraid that people like Elizabeth Warren, AOC, Omar, don't aren't you afraid that there are several more of our American politicians are being paid off by the various shell companies from putting money in our politicians' pockets? Aren't you afraid that the same thing that happened in 1979 is going to happen again? That they're going to undermine the whole government? I know Trump won't say yes, but don't you think that
Wait.
the MEK is going to still undermine our government and try to push their way into being at least in the running, or have someone different than whatever her name is, um, have them as a proxy and try to get into control in
Oh,
Iran.
okay, Kelly. So I'm gonna answer that, but like we have a list going on, so let's do go through this.
Sorry,
The
I,
way to
I
get on
just
the
I just
yeah. So
started today.
yeah, I'll let you know. I'll let you know how to get on the list, but I will answer your question, okay? And I'm gonna go through the list faster so that we could get to everybody. So
I
there's a
apologize
but
to everyone.
that
I
that's
apologize.
no, no, no. That's okay. That's okay because I maybe you weren't here. Maybe when I explained how we do the race, that's a good question.
Right.
So, and when I'm speaking, like everybody, close your mics when I'm speaking. So there's a smiley button at the bottom of your screen, and if you click on it, there's a raise hand button that looks like this. And if you do that, Danny will add you to the list. So let me just add Kelly's question because it's a good question. And then after that, we go through the list really quickly. I will answer Kelly. I'm not that worried because honestly, the Iranian people have shown like there's no force on earth that could stop the Iranian people from bringing Pahlavi as the leader of the transition as the transitional government, except any force that is willing to shoot into the crowds of people. So, short of that, if we remove that barrier, then there is nothing that anybody could do. Millions and millions of Iranians want Princess of Pahlavi, and nothing else could be forced upon them unless another force is willing to shoot into the crowds of millions of Iranians people in the streets. And as far as I know, it's only the IRGC that is willing to do that, and the proxies of the Islamic Republic. So once we get rid of them, I mean, as we're speaking, that is happening. American and Israeli planes are taking out, with the backing of United States. Israeli fighter jets are doing exactly that, and bombers and U.S. bombers as well. Once we remove that obstacle, nothing like what are you gonna do? Like you're gonna come like, oh, we're the leader. Who's like the Iranian people have given tens of thousands of their lives for return of Pahlavi. They have written with their own blood Javid Shah on the walls in the streets of Iran. Who's gonna come and tell them like, well, actually, here's another leader? What are they gonna do? How are they going to force that on the Iranian people? Unless they're willing to shoot tens of thousands of Iranians again, can kill tens of thousands of Iranians again. If that is not going to happen, if that is not happening, then there is Pahlavi and nothing else. Anyway, so let's move on to
Okay.
down the list.
I had a
Yeah, go.
second, somewhat related point. I'll make it really brief because we have a super long list. I was looking at statements made by Democrats, and they're all along the lines of Trump is bringing the U.S. into an illegal, poorly planned, unnecessary forever war against the wishes of the American people. So
Yep.
specifically the focus on illegality makes me think that they're not just trying to say that Trump is bad and don't vote for him. They're also trying to delegitimize what will come next in Iran. So that's why
So then,
I'm
yep.
worried about.
The concern is that they put enough pressure on Trump for the political cost of this military operation to become so high that they force Trump to stop the operation midway before they accomplish what they need to accomplish. That is the worry, okay? But these progressive politicians, are not in any authority. Once the Iranian people choose their own leaders, it will become official under international law as the government of Iran. So like a couple of progressives in the Democratic Party are not going to be able to change that. So I'm not worried about that. I'm only worried about, this is why we need to really support President Trump right now, but for his political capital to be high enough to be able to finish these operations.
Next, I'm going to move on to Sapir really quickly so that she can get some rest before the next alarm.
Okay,
All right. Let's. The next person I have is Ali Samani.
Hey, Armin. Congratulations. Quick questions. Feel free to answer them as shortly as you want. One, since September, I've been telling some dear friends of mine in Iran that within 1 to 3 years, the regime will be gone. Since all of this started, I've been explaining everything, all the same talking points that you have. And still, even today, they feel so unsure about if it's finally going to happen. I'm telling them Khamenei is finally dead, like everything's happening. Why don't you feel so happy? And they're like, well, what if they make a deal and talk and the regime somehow stays? And I refute all of their points with all of the talking points that we've said, all this logic. And so I was wondering, I arrived at the conclusion that they have PTSD from everything, and they just can't simply believe that none of this is real. So I was wondering how big of a role that's going to play in the upcoming months or years.
Yeah, I mean, so many people were predicting that nothing is going to happen, that President Trump is not going to attack, Israel is not going to attack. So I mean, let's go even a couple of steps back, right? These naysayers, they all said that Prince Reza Pahlavi can't do anything. He doesn't have support inside Iran. And then he came out, he gave the call to action, and millions of people showed up. Even before that, they will say that Prince Reza Pahlavi is incapable of creating an organized group of people with a plan. He came out and he has now the most organized team and a plan for the future of Iran, not just in Iran's history, but in the history of the world. In the history of revolutions, there has never been a greater revolution plan and the transitional period plan before the revolution is successful. Like I challenge you to go find anything like that. So they say he can't do that, and he did it better than anybody. Him and his team did it better than anyone in history. If you go look at his team and his plans for the transitional phase. Then they said, well, okay, well, he has now an institution, a group, a team, and a plan, but he doesn't have a base of support inside Iran. We said, so first we said no, he can, and then he proved us right. Then we said no, he has the greatest amount of following in Iran. They said that was untrue. And then when he gave his call to action, millions of Iranians showed up, and they all were chanting, "This is the final battle. Pahlavi will return," and Javid Shah. Then when that happened, they said, well, that's not going to happen, and that's not going to do anything because the Islamic Republic can just shoot Iranian people, so that's useless. So Princess of Pahlavi, well, he shouldn't even given the call to action because it's not going to bring them the government, it's not going to result in anything. I would say, like, what it's doing is bringing the attention of the world and is giving legitimacy to the regime change plan by Israel, and now United States is also on board when it comes to regime change plan inside Iran. They said no, that's not true. They always make a deal with them. The Americans like they betrayed us in 1979, and they're going to betray us again. They're not going to do this. Israel doesn't care. United States doesn't care. The Prime Minister Netanyahu made a false promise. They lied to us. President Trump lied. These are the minority voices. I mean, he said, nope, it's coming. It's coming. And like, where happened? What happened? You guys said that something is going to happen. Nothing happened. And then eventually, yesterday, they attacked. And even when they attacked, they're like, okay, this is like it's going to be a symbolic attack. It's not about regime change. Then they killed Khamenei, or like, guys, they killed Khamenei like within like right at the beginning. Like, Khamenei is dead. Okay, like you said this is not going to happen, and Khamenei is dead now. And now they're saying like, fine, Khamenei is dead. That doesn't mean anything. The regime is not just Khamenei. The regime is bigger than Khamenei. And like, okay, they're killing out RGC leaders one by one as we speaking. Like, well, it's a system. They are too ingrained in the, they're too intertwined in the economy of the country, and it's like they have so many operations. This is not going to do anything. And it's like, guys, if they do this, if eventually there's a lot of chaos within the IRGC and the Iranian people come out, this is going to lead to a revolution eventually that will be the beginnings of the industrial regime. So what you could point to is how wrong all the naysayers were so far, and maybe like maybe like maybe you're wrong this time as well. Like maybe like I don't know, have some. I mean, if you follow the trend, even without this attack, every single year the Islamic Republic has been getting weaker, and the Iranian people have been getting stronger. So even if you just continue, and this change has not been linear; it has been exponential. So even if you just follow that, I mean, eventually that will just lead to the Islamic Republic falling. If just by that, it's math. It's simple math. So that's what I would say.